Have you ever felt the crushing, heavy weight of deep environmental guilt just from holding a single, tiny plastic water bottle?
Oh, I think we all have at some point. It's a very specific feeling.
Right. Or have you ever wanted to completely hide under a blanket because talking about the warming planet feels too confusing, too emotionally heavy, and just completely overwhelming?
It is an incredibly common reaction, honestly. I mean, we are trying to navigate what is essentially a modern emotional minefield, and, well, our language often fails us.
It really does. Well, in this session, you are going to learn exactly how to transform your daily life English, master the emotional language of climate change, and navigate real-world conversations calmly and confidently without feeling judged or hopeless.
That is a very big promise.
It is. Today, we are going to master exactly 6 crucial B2 and C1 vocabulary terms, analyze 2 major mistakes people make when thinking about their environmental impact, and perform 6 complete sentence transformations to upgrade your English from panicked to powerful.
I love that. Panic to powerful.
Welcome to this English learning deep dive for daily life, real conversation, and easy listening practice.
And, this deep dive is designed specifically for serious B2 and C1 English learners. We are aiming at that upper intermediate to advanced level because, well, this topic requires a significant degree of nuance and maturity in our vocabulary.
Right, it's not just basic words today.
Exactly. We aren't just memorizing definitions today. We're analyzing the psychology behind the words. But if you are a B1 learner listening right now, do not worry and please do not leave.
Yeah, stick around.
Just listen for the main ideas, enjoy the flow of the conversation, and let the rhythm of the advanced language wash over you. Language is an incredibly powerful tool to connect with the world around you. And understanding how to frame these massive global issues gives you a profound voice in that world.
It really does give you a voice.
We want to inspire and motivate you today. We will be asking you to engage actively with the language. When we highlight a specific sentence, we want you to speak it out loud right where you are.
Even if you're on the train or walking your dog, just whisper it.
Exactly. It is believed that active verbal repetition, actually feeling the mechanics of the words in your mouth, is one of the absolute best ways to lock complex vocabulary into your long-term memory.
So we are not just going to talk at you today. You're going to be practicing right along with us.
Absolutely.
I want to jump right in by unpacking this feeling of guilt, and I have to start with a story. It's a bit embarrassing, but it perfectly illustrates the psychological trap we are dealing with.
Oh, I'm ready for this. Let's hear it.
Okay, so just the other day, I was preparing for my morning commute. I had my premium, insulated, reusable water bottle. It was filled with ice-cold water.
You were prepared?
I was. I felt highly mature. I felt responsible. I genuinely felt like a person with a master plan for my life and for the ecosystem,
The psychology of the master plan is fascinating. Because when we adopt a sustainable habit, we often attach our entire moral identity to that single object or action.
Exactly. That bottle was my moral shield for the day. But then, well, the whole story starts to fall apart.
Oh.
Yeah. I walked out the door, locked it, got halfway down the street, and realized that I had left the beautiful, expensive, reusable bottle sitting right there on the kitchen counter.
Oh, no. It happens to the best of us.
And because I had a very long commute ahead of me, I stopped at a small convenience shop on the way and bought a cheap, single-use plastic water bottle.
Right. Necessity takes over.
Yeah. But for the rest of the day, I carried that flimsy plastic bottle around with me, and I felt like I was carrying this massive, heavy weight of deep environmental guilt. The physical bottle was tiny, but the psychological guilt was huge.
It is a scenario that perfectly captures the modern condition. And linguistically, you used a critical phrasal verb to describe that moment. You said your plan started to fall apart.
I did, yeah.
Let's isolate that for our B2 and C1 learners. To fall apart literally means to break into pieces, like an old chair collapsing.
Physically breaking.
Right. But in an advanced context, we use it metaphorically to describe a situation, a system, an argument, or a plan that fails completely by losing its underlying structure.
Right, because it wasn't just a minor mistake. The entire structural integrity of my morning routine collapsed because the foundation, remembering the bottle, was removed.
Precisely. In C1 English, we don't just say a plan failed, we imply it had a structure that disintegrated. Consider the political or corporate context. Listen to this sentence and pay attention to how the stress lands. When they realized they had no funding, the company's business plan began to fall apart. Notice how it implies a slow unraveling.
Let's get our listeners engaged with this right now. If you are listening, I want you to say this next sentence out loud with me. Try to match my rhythm and emphasis. Ready? When our plans fail completely, they fall apart.
Good.
Let's say it one more time out loud. When our plans fail completely, they fall apart. It really gives you that feeling of structural collapse, doesn't it?
It does. But let's analyze the mechanism of your story. The real reason your plan fell apart wasn't entirely your forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is just the catalyst.
Wait, what was the real reason then?
The underlying mechanism that caused the guilt was the friction between your intention and your environment. Buying the plastic bottle was, above all else, convenient.
Oh, yeah. The word convenient is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
It really is.
It means something that is easy, useful, or suitable for your needs in a specific moment, usually saving you time or effort. But in capitalist societies, convenience is often engineered to mask the long-term consequences of our choices.
That is the linguistic nuance a C1 learner needs to grasp. When we call something convenient, we are often discussing a trade-off. We are trading long-term sustainability for short-term ease. The plastic bottle was instantly accessible. It required zero preparation.
And here is where it gets really interesting to me. I had an aha moment while analyzing my own reaction. The crushing guilt I felt didn't actually radiate from the plastic material of the bottle itself. The guilt begins the moment you notice the gap.
Define what you mean by the gap in this context, because it's a very visual way to put it.
It's the psychological gap between what you claim to believe and what you actually do in reality. I deeply believe that a reusable bottle is better for the world. I know the statistics about ocean plastic.
Yeah, you have the knowledge.
But my physical actions didn't match my internal beliefs because convenience won the battle. I was rushing, I was tired, I was thirsty. Living in that highly visible gap between your stated values and your immediate actions, that is exactly the space where environmental guilt lives.
That is an incisive way to look at it. The cognitive dissonance is what causes the pain. And it is vital that we make a philosophical and linguistic distinction here, especially when discussing global issues in English.
What kind of distinction?
It is believed by many psychologists that there is a massive difference between the concepts of guilt and shame. Guilt says, I made a bad choice. Shame says, I am a bad person.
Wow. Okay, so guilt is tied to an action, but shame is tied to identity.
Precisely. Guilt can actually make you pay attention and correct your behavior, but shame is paralyzing. Shame can make you give up.
Guilt can make you pay attention, but shame can make you give up. That distinction changes everything, doesn't it?
It fundamentally changes how we approach our own failures.
Because shame doesn't lead to action, it leads to hiding. If I feel shame about the plastic bottle, I don't try harder tomorrow. I just decide I'm a hypocrite and stop trying altogether.
Exactly. And that brings us to our next critical phrasal verb, give up. At a basic level, to give up means to stop trying or to surrender.
Like giving up on a hard puzzle.
Yes. But at a B2 or C1 level, we often use it to talk about abandoning our core principles, our prolonged efforts, or our hope, because a situation feels insurmountable. It is the language of fatalism.
Like giving up on the idea of reducing your plastic consumption entirely just because you failed one morning. It is an all-or-nothing mindset.
Precisely. Let's practice the rhythm of this one. Listen to this advanced example. The problem of global pollution is complex, but we cannot simply give up and do nothing.
That's a great example sentence.
Now, listener, wherever you are, speak this next sentence out loud with me to feel the structure of the phrase. Ready? When a challenge feels overwhelming, we must not give up.
Say it with us, guys.
Let's do it once more, focusing on the strong vowel sound in up. When a challenge feels overwhelming, we must not give up.
Excellent. So we know that shame makes us quit and give up. But what happens when the problem itself feels so massive, so incredibly huge, that making a small change feels utterly pointless?
Oh, that's a very real fear.
It feels like taking a single spoon of water out of the ocean to stop a flood. We are about to explore the phenomenon known as the too big problem.
Yes, and before we transition into that massive topic, we want to take a brief moment to check in with you.
Oh, right. We are about 10 minutes in.
Exactly. If you are 10 minutes into this deep dive and you are finding these linguistic breakdowns and psychological analyses helpful for your English fluency, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Engaging with the channel helps us continue bringing you these highly detailed, advanced language lessons.
It really does help. Okay, let's tackle the overwhelm. When we talk about sustainability, climate, and the warming planet, it is so easy to push back on the idea that our simple daily choices matter at all. The topic is just too huge.
It is what philosophers sometimes refer to as a hyperobject, a concept or entity that is so vast in time and space that it defeats our traditional human comprehension.
A hyperobject, that's a cool word. And it makes sense. We are trying to simultaneously comprehend rising global temperatures, massive industrial air pollution, the systematic destruction of ancient forests, oceans filled with microplastics, and thousands of endangered species.
It's completely overwhelming.
It literally feels like too much raw data to hold in your human brain at one time. It's paralyzing. You sit there looking at your recycling bin and think, what difference can I possibly make?
That specific feeling of paralysis is incredibly common. And when we look closely at the rhetoric surrounding this, how people actually discuss it in everyday English, it is believed that there are two distinct, opposite mistakes people make when trying to process this hyperobject.
Let's break those two mistakes down for us. What is the first one?
The first mistake is thinking that your individual actions alone can fix everything. This is the trap of hyper-individualism. It puts an unmanageable amount of pressure on the individual consumer.
Oh, I see.
It inevitably leads to severe burnout because you're trying to exist as a perfectly green entity within an economic and infrastructural system that is not built to support it.
Oh, I know people who fall into this trap. It's the person who feels crushing, debilitating anxiety if they accidentally have to use one paper napkin at a restaurant. They demand absolute perfection from themselves. It's an impossible standard.
It truly is.
So if that is the first mistake, what is the second?
The second mistake is the exact opposite of perfectionism. It's a complete fatalism. It is the belief that your individual actions mean absolutely nothing.
The hopeless surrender.
Exactly. This is the path of total hopeless surrender. It's the rhetorical stance that argues because large multinational corporations and energy sectors produce the vast majority of global pollution, your personal decision to recycle or repair your clothes or take the bus is entirely meaningless.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. Isn't there some truth to that second argument? I mean, 100 companies are responsible for over 70% of global emissions. Doesn't focusing on my single plastic bottle just distract from the real culprits? Why shouldn't I just say my actions mean nothing?
That is a very common and valid challenge. Yes, systemic and corporate change is the primary driver. However, the linguistic and psychological trap is using that fact as an excuse for complete personal apathy. If everyone adopts the fatalistic stance of my actions mean nothing, it creates a cultural permission structure where no one demands change, not even from the corporations. Collective individual actions create market trends, and market trends influence corporate behavior.
That makes total sense. So on one side, you have the terrifying, crushing pressure of perfectionism. On the other side, you have the toxic apathy of hopeless surrender. Neither of those sounds like a productive or mentally healthy way to live.
Which is exactly why we must develop the vocabulary to discuss the middle ground.
The middle ground, it's such an essential concept. The middle ground is realizing that, hey, my one single plastic water bottle from the convenience shop is not going to instantly trigger the collapse of the planet. I don't need to punish myself.
Right.
But simultaneously, my daily habits still matter because they shape my mindset, my community, and the economic demand. The middle ground lets us breathe. It gives us permission to be imperfect humans who are just trying to do a little bit better consistently.
It is a much healthier psychological space to occupy, and it perfectly introduces a very formal, highly useful B2 and C1 vocabulary term that you absolutely must master when discussing this middle ground, environmental impact.
That sounds like a phrase you would read in a corporate document or a government report.
It is heavily used in those contexts, but it's also standard in advanced conversational English. Environmental impact refers to the measurable effect that a person, a company, a specific activity or a product has on nature, the air, the water, the land, or the broader climate. It is the terminology of consequence.
So instead of a B1 learner just saying, that factory is bad for the planet, which sounds a bit elementary, a C1 learner would elevate the discourse by saying, that factory has a severe negative environmental impact.
Precisely. Let's look at a clear B2, C1 example situation to provide context. Think about the modern fashion industry.
Oh, fast fashion.
Yes. Buying cheap, low-quality clothing that you wear twice and then throw away the phenomenon known as fast fashion has a massive negative environmental impact due to the water usage, the chemical dyes, and the landfill waste.
Yes, terrible.
Conversely, choosing products that are designed to last longer and choosing to repair your clothes rather than discard them has a positive, or at the very least a significantly reduced, environmental impact.
Let's get our listeners practicing that exact phrase. Environmental impact has a very specific rhythm to it, and the transition between the words can be a bit of a tongue twister if you don't practice it.
It can be. The vowels run together.
Let's lock it in. Listeners, say this sentence out loud with me right now. We need to deeply consider the environmental impact of fast fashion.
Perfect.
Let's try it one more time, really emphasizing the word impact. We need to deeply consider the environmental impact of fast fashion.
Excellent phrasing. It instantly elevates the maturity of the sentence.
Now that we've found our middle ground to breathe and we've learned how to accurately discuss our impact, we have to navigate a specific word that is absolutely everywhere.
Which word is that?
You see it painted on the walls of grocery stores, plastered all over internet ads, and printed in bold green letters on packaging. But this word often hides a very annoying, hypocritical truth wrapped in plastic. Do you know what it is? Let's unpack the great illusion.
You are referring to the linguistic minefield surrounding the term eco-friendly.
Yes, eco-friendly, it is ubiquitous, and honestly, it drives me completely crazy sometimes. Let me paint a vivid image for you.
Go ahead.
The other day, I was walking down the aisle in a major store, and I saw a new cleaning product heavily advertised on a massive cardboard display as being 100% eco-friendly. But when I picked it up and looked closely, the small bottle of liquid was wrapped in 3 separate, incredibly thick layers of single-use, non-recyclable plastic.
The irony is staggering.
Yeah.
It completely lost on the manufacturer's marketing department.
It really is. It was as if the product was standing on the shelf, gently whispering, "I deeply care about nature and the trees," while simultaneously wearing a giant, suffocating coat of crude oil plastic. It's a total illusion.
The plastic coat of hypocrisy is a fantastic way to describe the mechanism of greenwashing. Let's define the core word for our learners. Eco-friendly is an adjective that simply means not harmful or less harmful to the environment. It is a portmanteau, a combination of eco, relating to ecology or the natural environment, and friendly.
But the problem isn't the definition of the word. The problem is how the word has been weaponized, right?
Exactly. For a C1 speaker, you need to understand the semantic dilution of the word. Eco-friendly must represent a verifiable reality. It should mean the product actually involves less waste in its supply chain, requires less energy to manufacture, causes less chemical damage to local ecosystems, or is fundamentally designed for a much longer lifespan.
It has to mean something real.
Yes, it cannot and should not merely mean that the marketing department decided to print some minimalist green leaves on the label to make the consumer feel less guilty.
We need to practice the pronunciation of this word because the transition between the O in eco and the F in friendly can be tricky for non-native speakers to say smoothly without a hard pause.
That's a great point.
Listeners, speak this B2 C1 example out loud with me. True eco-friendly products are designed for longevity, not just for aesthetics.
Let's do it again, blending the sound smoothly.
True eco-friendly products are designed for longevity, not just for aesthetics.
That sentence structure is highly indicative of C1 proficiency. Now, we must address the psychological trap that eco-friendly marketing creates.
Okay, I have a major confession to make about this exact trap. This is the painful, uncomfortable truth about the psychology of buying new things.
We're all ears.
Even when products truly are legitimately eco-friendly, I still fall into an absurd behavioral loop. I will go online late at night, and I will buy brand new certified eco-friendly items, things like organic cotton notebooks, premium bamboo water bottles, or recycled cardboard storage boxes, just to buy the feeling of being organized.
Buying the feeling.
Exactly. I don't actually need a 4th bamboo water bottle in my cabinet. I already have 3. But I'm buying it to purchase the emotion of feeling like I am improving my life and saving the planet simultaneously.
That is a remarkably honest admission, and it touches on the core economic engine of our time. Let's validate that human instinct for a moment. Wanting comfort, desiring beauty in your surroundings, or wanting to feel organized and in control of your life, that is not the enemy. That is basic human nature.
It feels good to have nice things.
It does. The danger arises when the act of purchasing becomes a substitute for emotional regulation. We run into trouble when we are buying things purely out of boredom, or because we are feeling anxious, or perhaps most dangerously because an algorithm noticed our vulnerability and flashed a giant red sign that said, "Limited offer, only 2 left."
Oh, the limited offer tactic is my absolute kryptonite. It bypasses all my logic and creates this completely manufactured sense of panic. You feel like if you don't buy the bamboo bottle right now, you will fail at being a good person.
It absolutely does. It exploits scarcity bias. And this leads us directly to a highly advanced, crucial vocabulary term, Overconsumption.
That is a big, heavy, multi-syllable word.
It is. Overconsumption is a noun that means the action or fact of consuming something to excess. In an environmental and economic context, it means buying, using, or destroying much more of a resource or product than is actually necessary to live a good life. It is widely considered to be the root systemic cause of nearly all modern environmental crises.
And it connects so perfectly to what you just mentioned about buying things when we are sad or bored. There is a very common English idiom used to describe that exact behavior, isn't there? Retail therapy?
Yes, retail therapy. It is the act of going shopping and buying consumer goods specifically to improve your mood or alleviate stress. It is a humorous phrase, but it hides a dark reality. It is believed that the cultural normalization of retail therapy is one of the primary drivers of overconsumption in modern Western society. We are trying to cure emotional deficits with physical objects.
Well, wait, if the entire economy is built on getting us to buy more things and our own psychology is wired to seek comfort through retail therapy, what is the realistic solution? How do we stop this relentless cycle of overconsumption?
The most powerful practical and psychological solution is remarkably simple. Pausing. The immense power of the pause.
It's stopping.
Yes. Before you click buy, before you walk to the cash register, you force a mental pause. You ask yourself a series of disruptive questions. Can I repair the item I already have instead of replacing it entirely? Can I borrow this specific tool from a neighbor since I only need it for one afternoon? Am I buying this because I need it or because I had a bad day at work?
Wow, that disrupts the whole process.
It requires shifting your mindset away from immediate, thoughtless gratification and moving toward thoughtful, deliberate acquisition.
Thoughtful acquisition? That is such a powerful counter-concept to retail therapy. I want our listeners to really master the pronunciation of overconsumption because it has 5 syllables, and getting the stress right is key to sounding fluent.
Good idea. The stress falls hard on the subsyllable. Overconsumption.
Listeners, say this advanced sentence out loud with me right now. The normalization of retail therapy often leads to dangerous overconsumption. Try it once more, hitting that stress. The normalization of retail therapy often leads to dangerous overconsumption.
There is a perfect execution of advanced vocabulary.
So we establish that pausing stops unnecessary buying at the source. But what happens when the things we do buy, the things we use daily, and even the things we casually return in the mail start following us around like a giant invisible shadow of pollution? Let's figure out how to measure that shadow next.
You are leading us directly into a very common, very important 2-word noun phrase that dominates climate discourse. The carbon footprint.
Yes, the carbon footprint. It's a phrase you hear on the news almost every single day.
Let's clearly define it for our B2 and C1 learners before we analyze its history. A carbon footprint is the total amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases emitted over the full life cycle of a product, a service, an event, or even a person's entire lifestyle. It is the invisible trail of pollution directly connected to the choices that are made.
Now, I have to admit something. I always understood the basics of a carbon footprint. I knew that driving a gas-powered car every day left a footprint. I knew that flying on a jet across the ocean left a massive footprint.
Those are the classic examples.
But I was completely shocked recently when I learned about the footprint of one very specific everyday action, online shopping returns. I had no idea that returning a package has a massive footprint.
Ah, yes. The hidden, devastating logistical cost of modern convenience.
It's totally wild to think about. You buy a shirt online, it arrives, you try it on, it doesn't fit quite right, so you just stick it back in the plastic mailer and drop it off at the post office. It feels entirely free and completely harmless.
But it's not.
Not at all. The reality of that return is staggering. It requires extra cardboard or plastic packing materials. It requires a heavy diesel truck to ship it back across the country. It requires massive amounts of electrical energy to process the return in a giant climate-controlled warehouse.
And it gets worse.
Oh yeah, the most shocking part. I read that sometimes companies just throw the perfectly good returned item straight into an incinerator or a landfill because it is literally cheaper for them to destroy it than to pay a human worker to inspect it, fold it, and restock it. The carbon footprint of that one free return shirt is absolutely huge.
It is a staggering logistical reality that most consumers are entirely shielded from. Let's practice using this vital phrase in a sentence to ensure our learners are comfortable with it.
Listeners, speak this out loud with me to feel the rhythm. The hidden logistics of online shopping returns can significantly increase your personal carbon footprint.
Let's say it again.
The hidden logistics of online shopping returns can significantly increase your personal carbon footprint.
Perfect.
Now, I want to challenge this concept a bit. We talk a lot about personal carbon footprints, but didn't you mention earlier that focusing on individuals is sometimes a trap?
You are hitting on a crucial piece of historical context that changes how we should use this phrase. We must emphasize something deeply important about the etymology and popularization of the phrase carbon footprint.
Okay, I'm listening.
It was not popularized by environmental scientists. It was actually popularized by one of the largest fossil fuel energy companies in the world during a massive advertising campaign in the early 2000s.
Wait, really? A fossil fuel company spent millions of dollars to teach people about carbon footprints. Why on earth would they do that?
It is widely believed that they promoted the concept of a personal carbon footprint as a deliberate public relations strategy to shift the blame and the responsibility away from industrial systemic pollution and place it heavily onto the shoulders of the individual consumer.
Wow.
Yes. If you are busy feeling guilty about your plastic water bottle or your online return, you are less likely to advocate for systemic regulation of the energy sector.
That completely changes how I view the phrase. So are you saying we shouldn't care about our footprint? Because that sounds like a very convenient excuse for me to just buy a massive gas-guzzling truck and say, hey, it's not my fault, blame the corporations.
That is exactly the fatalistic trap we discussed earlier. No, it does not mean your choices don't matter. What it means is that it is crucial that the phrase carbon footprint is not used as a weapon of shame.
Back to shame versus guilt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should not use it to attack yourself into a state of anxiety, nor should you use it to yell at your neighbor who has to drive an older gas-powered car to work.
Right, because maybe that neighbor doesn't have any other viable choice. Maybe public transportation in their city is notoriously unreliable or unsafe. Maybe they simply don't have the vast amount of disposable income required to purchase a new electric vehicle. Or maybe they have a large family and complex daily needs that require a specific type of vehicle.
Exactly. A lack of choices due to economic constraints, time poverty, safety concerns, or family infrastructure is a stark reality for the vast majority of people globally. Therefore, discussing a carbon footprint must be about generating systemic awareness, not generating interpersonal shame.
I love that distinction, awareness, not shame. Which brings me to a thought I had regarding our next crucial vocabulary word. Let's say you find an environmental choice that is absolutely 100% perfect.
Okay, hypothetically.
For example, you decide you are never, ever going to produce a single piece of trash again for the rest of your life. Zero waste. But implementing that choice makes your daily life so incredibly difficult, so exhausting, and so time-consuming that you completely give up after 3 days.
It happens all the time.
If that happens, then that perfect choice was not sustainable. A choice has to be a repeatable habit to matter.
That is a brilliant analogy and a seamless transition to the word sustainable. This is a C1 level adjective that is the absolute bedrock of any mature conversation about the environment or long-term planning.
Let's define it clearly.
Sustainable means the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level over a long period of time without causing severe harm or entirely depleting the necessary resources.
So it's not just about the Earth's resources, it's about your own personal, psychological, and physical energy resources too. A marathon runner has a sustainable pace. They can keep going for hours. A sprinter running at top speed does not have a sustainable pace. They will collapse after a few hundred meters.
Precisely. If adopting a green habit completely exhausts your mental energy or bankrupts you financially, it is not sustainable for your lifestyle, and you will eventually abandon it. True sustainability must factor in human endurance.
That is so important to remember. Let's have the listener practice this vital word. The stress falls squarely on the second syllable. Sustainable.
Yes, sustainable.
Listeners, say this sentence out loud with me right now. To make a genuine long-term difference, our daily environmental habits must be sustainable. One more time. To make a genuine long-term difference, our daily environmental habits must be sustainable.
Excellent.
We've spent a lot of time talking about our human habits, our shopping, our driving, our package returns, our guilt. But in focusing so much on humans, we often ignore the fact that there is an entire secret underground city quietly doing the heavy lifting of keeping this planet alive. People completely forget about it when they debate the environment. It is time to uncover it.
You were talking about the vast, incredibly complex, unseen world of biology. But before we get into the science, let's address a very common phrase that dominates the cultural conversation about this topic.
Yes, the phrase, save the planet. I have a confession. I am getting incredibly tired of hearing the phrase, save the planet.
Why is that? Is the most common rallying cry in the movement.
Because it feels way too abstract and way too heavy. When someone yells at me that we need to save the planet, I feel like I am being asked to put on an Avengers superhero cape and fly into orbit to physically shield the Earth from destruction. It feels like the weight of the entire globe is being placed on my shoulders, and I just don't have the strength for that burden.
It's paralyzing, like we discussed.
It really is. I much prefer smaller, localized, highly practical language.
What kind of practical language do you mean? Give me an example of how you reframe it.
I prefer to think in terms of waste less today, use what you already have in the closet, protect the local river in our town. Those are tangible things I can actually comprehend and do. Save the planet feels like a science fiction movie. Protect local places feels like a real, manageable job.
That is a very astute linguistic observation. Large, highly abstract language often causes the human brain to disengage because it cannot process the scale of the demand. Specific, localized, actionable language empowers people. And when we talk about protecting local places, we must introduce the definitive scientific term, biodiversity.
Now, that is a great academic-sounding word.
It is a compound noun blending biological and diversity. Biodiversity refers to the incredible complex variety of all plant, animal, insect, and microbial life in a particular habitat or ecosystem on Earth.
And I think when most people hear the word biodiversity, their mind immediately jumps to the big, famous, majestic animals. They think of saving the tigers in India, or protecting the giant blue whales in the ocean, or the polar bears on the ice.
Exactly what biologists call the charismatic megafauna. We love the big, beautiful animals. But true biodiversity is much more foundational than that. It is the secret underground city you mentioned earlier.
The bugs in the dirt.
Yes. It includes the ugly, unglamorous things. It includes the specific species of bees that pollinate our food crops, the small birds that eat pests and spread seeds, the vast fungal networks under the dirt, and the microscopic bacterial life in the soil that allows plants to grow at all. Without the microbes, the tigers don't exist.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective. Let's practice saying this word because it's a long one and hitting syllables cleanly is important for C1 fluency. Biodiversity.
5 syllables.
Listeners, say this advanced sentence out loud with me. Protecting the microscopic life in the soil is absolutely essential for maintaining local biodiversity. Let's try it again. Protecting the microscopic life in the soil is absolutely essential for maintaining local biodiversity.
Excellent. And understanding biodiversity requires a deep understanding of ecosystems. An ecosystem is a complex, delicate natural system where all living organisms and their physical environment interact and depend on each other for survival.
It's a web.
It is vital to remember the framing here. Nature isn't just a pretty decoration outside your window. It isn't just a painting you look at on the weekend. It is a highly connected, living, breathing, functional machine. And humans are entirely a part of it, not separate from it.
Right. We are completely dependent on the web. If the insects die off because of pesticides, the birds have no food. If the birds die, the seeds don't spread. If the seeds don't spread, the local plants die. If plants die, the soil washes away. It is all one giant interconnected web.
And this brings us to a harsh psychological reality and a very useful B2C1 phrasal verb. When people are constantly confronted with the terrifying reality of these ecosystems collapsing, and the messaging they hear on the news is only based on fear, doom, and destruction, what is their natural psychological response? They shut down.
Shut down, like a computer when it overheats and just turns itself off.
Adoisesi. To shut down literally means to turn off a machine.
Right.
But in a psychological context for advanced English learners, it means to stop listening, to withdraw all emotional engagement, or to stop functioning entirely because you are overwhelmingly stressed or frightened.
It's a defense mechanism.
It is a defense mechanism against existential dread.
So if a news report is just screaming at me about how the oceans are boiling and everything is dying, my brain can't process the terror, so I might just completely shut down, become numb, and change the channel to watch a comedy show instead.
Exactly. Apathy is often just a mask for overwhelming fear. Let's practice this crucial phrasal verb in context. Listeners, speak this out loud with me. When the news relies purely on fear, many people simply shut down and disengage. Let's say it again. When the news relies purely on fear, many people simply shut down and disengage.
So we've learned the exact words we need. We understand the mechanics of overconsumption, the history of carbon footprints, and the depth of biodiversity. We know the danger of shutting down or giving up, but how do we actually put these words together into complete conversational sentences that make us sound mature, balanced, and fluent, instead of sounding panicked, harsh, or judgmental?
That is the big question.
Our final and most important transformation is coming up right now.
Welcome to the practical application segment of our deep dive. The goal here is simple but profoundly important for your fluency. Very often, when B1 or B2 learners try to discuss climate change or environmental politics, they rely on basic vocabulary, which results in sentences that sound too extreme, too harsh, or too simplistic.
Right, because they don't have the words to add nuance.
This lack of nuance can accidentally end a conversation, offend someone, or make the other person feel incredibly defensive.
Right, we don't want to sound like angry activists screaming at people. We want to sound like thoughtful, educated adults having a reasonable, nuanced discussion.
Exactly. We want to speak clearly, calmly, and thoughtfully, using our language to invite dialogue rather than shut it down. So we are going to do a rapid-fire role-play style practice. We will execute 6 sentence transformations.
I love role plays.
The host will give you the harsh, extreme, or overly simple sentence that we often hear in daily life. Then I will provide the mature B2 C1 upgraded version that utilizes advanced phrasing.
And for every single one of these, we want you, the listener, to repeat the upgraded expert sentence out loud with us. Do not just listen, speak. This is where you really build the muscle memory for fluency.
Let's begin. Transformation number 1.
Okay, here is the harsh, extreme sentence that stops conversation. Climate change is too scary to talk about.
That sentence completely closes the door to dialogue. It is a conversational dead end based on fear. Here's the B2 C1 upgrade that acknowledges the emotion but keeps the door open. Climate change can feel overwhelming, but I want to understand it better.
Oh, that's much better.
This shows maturity and a willingness to engage. Listeners, say the upgrade with me. Climate change can feel overwhelming, but I want to understand it better.
I love how that shifts the tone. Transformation number 2. Here is the defeated, fatalistic sentence. I don't do anything for the environment.
This is a statement of shame, and frankly, it usually isn't entirely true. It's that all-or-nothing trap. A mature, active upgrade that focuses on the ongoing process rather than demanding perfection is, I'm trying to make more sustainable choices.
It sounds so much more hopeful.
Listeners, say it with me, focusing on the active verb. I'm trying to make more sustainable choices.
That sounds so much more empowering. Transformation number 3. Here is a very blunt, often defensive complaint. Eco-friendly things are too expensive.
While that statement is often economically true, stopping the conversation there is unhelpful and dismissive. We want to sound realistic but solution-oriented. Here's the advanced upgrade. Some eco-friendly options are cost-prohibitive, but I can still reduce waste in simple ways.
Listeners, let's say this nuanced version together. Some eco-friendly options are cost-prohibitive, but I can still reduce waste in simple ways.
Cost-prohibitive is a fantastic C1 replacement for too expensive.
It really elevates it. Transformation number 4. Here is the hopeless, apathetic sentence. My small choices don't matter.
This is the second mistake we analyzed earlier, hopeless surrender. To sound balanced, scientifically accurate, and engaged, use this upgrade. My choices are not the whole solution, but they still have a measurable environmental impact.
That's a great use of our vocabulary word.
Listeners, say it with conviction. My choices are not the whole solution, but they still have a measurable environmental impact.
Great phrasing. Transformation number 5. Here is a very basic, somewhat accusatory sentence that sounds a bit juvenile. People buy too much stuff.
That sounds a bit like a child complaining about a complex economic system. To sound mature, objective, and specific, we deploy our advanced vocabulary to name the systemic issue. Here's the upgrade. Overconsumption is a major driver of the environmental crisis.
That sounds incredibly professional.
Listeners, say it with me to feel the authority in the words. Overconsumption is a major driver of the environmental crisis.
Perfect. It shifts the blame from people to the systemic behavior. And finally, transformation number 6. Here is a very dramatic, highly emotional sentence. Nature is disappearing and everything is dying.
While the underlying emotion is valid, a C1 speaker wants to sound scientifically precise and prevent the listener from shutting down in fear. Rely on the academic terminology. Here is the highly advanced upgrade. When natural habitats are damaged, local biodiversity severely suffers.
That completely removes the panic.
Listeners, for the last time today, lock this in by saying it out loud. When natural habitats are damaged, local biodiversity severely suffers.
Those transformations are incredibly powerful. They really take the heat, the panic, and the judgment out of the conversation and replace them with calm, confident, analytical vocabulary. You know, at the very beginning of the show, we promised a final bonus tip for our listeners who stayed with us.
We did. And this bonus tip is philosophical. It applies equally to both your complex language learning journey and your daily environmental habits. The ultimate golden rule is this: consistency over perfection.
Consistency over perfection. Explain exactly how that connects these two different worlds.
It means that you do not need to have perfectly flawless, error-free grammar every single time you open your mouth to speak English, just as you do not need to live a perfectly zero-waste, plastic-free, carbon-neutral life to be a good person.
That's a huge relief.
Demanding absolute perfection leads directly to that feeling of shame. And what did we learn about shame? Shame makes you want to give up and shut down. What you actually need, what the world actually needs, are more aware lives and more thoughtful choices.
Just a little bit better every day.
If you study English just a little bit every day, and if you make one small, sustainable choice every day, like remembering that reusable bottle or pausing before a retail therapy purchase, you will grow slowly, steadily, and sustainably.
Wow. Grow slowly and sustainably. That is the absolute perfect way to wrap up this entire massive topic. Listeners, we have an assignment for you right now. I want you to go down to the comment box.
You ready to type?
To prove that you made it to the end of this intensive deep dive and to publicly commit to your own steady growth, instruct your fingers to type these exact 3 words. Right. I am consistent in the comment box.
Yes, right. I am consistent. And while you are down there in the comment box, we have a second, slightly more challenging task for you. We want you to practice your writing skills and your emotional vocabulary. Please write your honest answer to this specific question. How do you feel when people talk about climate change?
But there's a catch to this assignment. When you write your answer to that question, you must try to use one key word or one idiom that we deeply explained today. Whether it's overconsumption, fall apart, carbon footprint, or shutdown, write it right there in the comment box. We read every single comment, and we absolutely love seeing you put this advanced vocabulary into real action.
Also, please write your feedback. We are constantly looking to improve the depth and quality of our discussions, and we want to tailor this content to your exact linguistic needs. Which kind of topic do you want us to tackle for the next video? Let us know what specific areas of English grammar you are struggling with, or what complex conversational topics like technology, psychology, or business you want to master next.
And hey, I have to hype this up for just a second because it's so valuable. If you like this video and you want to read amazing, highly detailed articles about English vocabulary and grammar, go into the description box right now. There, I have provided a special link. If you click it and subscribe just once, you will receive premium English learning articles delivered directly to your email for free every single time we publish.
It is an incredible zero-cost resource to keep your reading comprehension razor-sharp between videos.
And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive, there are many more sessions and deep dives available right now on my channel. Go check them out and binge watch your favorites. Complete immersion in the language is the absolute key to reaching that coveted C1 level of fluency.
We covered so much ground today. We started with my terrible, guilt-inducing mistake of leaving my reusable water bottle on the kitchen counter. And we explored the massive psychological gap between what we genuinely want to do and what is instantly convenient in a busy world.
That was my mistake, but yes, we did.
Yes, your mistake.
We navigated the dangerous, algorithm-driven waters of overconsumption and retail therapy. We debunked the corporate illusion of the eco-friendly plastic coat. We analyzed the hidden logistics of the carbon footprint. And we uncovered the vital foundational world of soil and biodiversity.
So as you go about the rest of your day today, maybe you are reaching for a disposable coffee cup, or maybe you are hovering your mouse over the Add to Cart button on a clothing website. We want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over in your mind.
Think about this very deeply. If every single physical object you own had a label permanently attached to it, showing the exact detailed journey it took to reach your hands, every diesel truck, every chemical factory, every underpaid worker, and every piece of discarded packaging, how would that visible history change what you consider to be convenient tomorrow morning?